Well, thanks very much, Laura, and I'm certainly pleased to be at the National Press Club once again. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, and I pay my respect to their elders, past, present and emerging. And I proudly reiterate Labor's commitment to implement the Uluru Statement from the Heart in full. If an Australian government can take up the invitation First Nations people have extended to us, an invitation that is so generous it stands as an act of grace, it will help define our future as a more reconciled and more equal country. I thank all of my colleagues who are here today as well, and I want to express my deep gratitude to all the other members and senators and candidates and our volunteers and supporters who are out there right now, walking the talk, making calls, knocking on doors and handing out on pre-poll where people are voting in record numbers. Our democracy is a vital and precious institution, and as events around the world keep reminding us, not something we should ever take for granted. I can promise you this, my team will be working hard for every single vote right up until the polls close at 6 p.m. on Saturday. Our democracy draws its health and strength from people putting up their hand, engaging with their community, participating in the contest of ideas. I'm here at the National Press Club today to outline Labor's plan for a better future. I'm seeking the honour of serving as Prime Minister of the best country in the world, and I want to lead a government that is worthy of our great nation. A government that honours the values of the Australian people, that repays hard work, nourishes aspiration and creates opportunity. A government driven by strong and simple principles that you might have heard me mention during the last 6 weeks. No one held back, no one left behind. I began this campaign outlining Labor's plans to build a better future, to boost wages, to help with the cost of living, make things here in Australia, strengthen Medicare, fix aged care, invest in the skills of our people and bring our country together. As we near the end of this campaign, these promises remain central to Labor's vision for Australia. Scott Morrison started his campaign saying, "You didn't have to like him, but at least you knew who he was." 5 weeks later, he's saying he can pretend to be someone else if it will make you like him. Labor is offering Australians a chance to change the country for the better. He's promising to change his personality. He's been the devil you know. He's been a bulldozer. He told us he's a car, just not an electric one, obviously. And now Scott Morrison, who's been in this government for nearly 10 years, is telling Australia that's not enough. He wants another term as Prime Minister, not because it's a great deal for you. He says, to quote him, he's just warming up after 4 years. Seriously, 4 years as Prime Minister, he himself is distancing himself from Scott Morrison. What a concise concession of failure. But it's been like that all along. Labor's campaign is about the Australian people, your values, your aspirations, the difference that a good government can make in your life. The Liberals' campaign is about them, their obsessions, their vendettas, their excuses, their political survival. But of course, elections aren't just an assessment of our campaigns. Australians are giving their verdict on the last 3 years and the last 3 terms. And more importantly, making a judgment about who is best to lead our country into the future. In 2022, that means looking at how we got through a once-in-a-century pandemic and asking, what are we going to learn from it? Now, amid all the tragedy and uncertainty of COVID, which is, of course, still continuing, Australians have been simply magnificent, caring, brave, patient beyond measure, but it hasn't been easy. So many people have done it really tough. The crisis we're going through showcased the strength of our community, and once again what we saw was the worst of times bringing out the very best in Australians. But it also exposed the vulnerabilities in our economy, the uncertainty of insecure work, the unsustainable costs of childcare, the neglect of our skills and training system, the digital divide in access to the NBN for homes and small businesses, the pressure on our health system, but importantly, the pressure on our healthcare workers, the absolute crisis in aged care, and the risk to business and industry from our position at the end of global supply chains. These problems aren't new. Most are the inevitable end result of a decade of cuts, mismanagement, neglect, and a government that's just focused on itself, with the real-world consequences felt by hard-working Australians. Like today's news, that real wages have gone backwards yet again, a fall of 2.7%. What a hit. This delivers the biggest cuts to real wages in more than 20 years. Under Scott Morrison, real wages are plummeting while the costs of living are skyrocketing. Australian workers are paying the price for a decade of bad policy and economic failures, while Scott Morrison says he should be rewarded with another 3 years because he's just getting started. The choice Australians have to make this Saturday is which party can be trusted to solve these problems. The Liberal government that created them, a Prime Minister who denied them and then blamed them on someone else, or a Labor Party driven by a determination to learn the lessons of the pandemic, to face up to the big challenges confronting our country and to bring people together to build a better future.